Hello, friends. Today we're talking about release and refocus. We can do a really good job of talking a good positive game about what we're going to do and what we're going to change. And sometimes we do this at the new year. This is going to be the year that I fill in the blank. But these things happen all the time. It could be your birthday, New Year. It could be a new month. It could be a new season. It could just be, Tuesday. All are always opportunities to choose a new path. And that's wonderful and good. The trouble is if we, of course, don't release the belief, the habit, the ideas that got us where we are. So they're both really important parts of the cycle. So this video is created as a meditation experience that you can listen to and watch whenever it works for you. And if we were doing this in person, I would have some pretty long silences so that you could have time to write and reflect. But I'm not going to make them very long in this video because you can just pause me and write and reflect as long as you need to and then turn it back on. Cool, huh? So you might want some paper or something to write on. Even though I'm a digital person, I find that there's something very cathartic sometimes about the physical act of writing, but that's up to you. And if you are getting to the time where you're going to release something, for some people, just writing it down is good. Other people like to have some sort of ceremony or like really clear, I did this and got rid of whatever this is. So, there's lots of different ways that can look. Of course, there's the traditional fire. Be careful about how you do that. If you have a paper shredder, you can write it on paper and throw it through the paper shredder. Depending on if you have sand or snow in your nearby area, you can write in that and clear it out, which is kind of fun. Or, I'm a big fan of the toilet paper route. You can flush that old stuff right down the drain. So if you want to have something like that, get that, or you just get some paper, you can write down what you want to release, and you might have some reflections about that, and you might have some reflections about what you want to refocus. I'm saying refocus because, I think that most of the big ideas that we have about how we want to be and how we want to show up, it's not like it's a new idea, but sometimes we get distracted. So it's a refocus. And so the other thing to notice as we're going into this is to be gentle with ourselves, to have compassion towards ourselves. Change takes time. Changing habits takes time. And so we may do a releasing today, and you may just need to turn on this video and do it again tomorrow or next week, or just remembering, oh yeah, remember I let go of that idea. Because, for instance, if you decide, I'm going to be more loving and joyful this year or this next week or whatever time frame you choose, that means you may also have to let go of resentments. It means you might also have to let go of attachment to things being a certain way. See, that's the tricky bit. So that's why we do this opportunity for reflection, for release, for refocus. And we always start by getting heart-centered. So now that I'm sure you've paused me and gone and gathered your supplies if needed, let us take a few deep breaths together. and allow ourselves to move from our head and the cognitive. Just move that short distance down to the heart. We just gently open ourselves to the idea, to the question. Who am I called to be? How am I called to show up? What is mine to be? And maybe to do. So from a heart-centered place, not about cognitive thinking, but from our hearts, maybe we just take some time to write down, who am I called to be? How am I called to show up? What is mine to do and to be in this world? And from our heart-centered place, we reflect both on what do I have to let go of to be that which I'm called to be? What are those barriers? What am I ready to get rid of, to let go of, or even to practice letting go of, so I can be and do who I'm called to be and do? We don't have to write out the whole story, all the details about what we're ready to release, unless that's really important to you. The bullet points will do just fine. And so if we've gotten clear about what it is, What habits or misbeliefs, resentments, thought patterns, ideas, judgments are you ready to release or practice releasing? You just jot those down on your object of releasing. Make sure to drop down and feel it in your heart. This is an exercise where our heart and our head work together. Once you have that jotted down, why don't you just pause me for a moment? And if your way of releasing is there where you are, just pause me and go do that. The fire, the flushing, the shredding. I'll be right here. Welcome back. Did you feel a little freer? Let's just take a moment of gratitude that we have these tools and these opportunities for the awareness that we can do this, that we can make a change, that we can choose anew. Every day we can choose anew. Isn't that great? And so the question is, what do we choose now? We've released. We're going to continue to practice releasing. What do we choose anew? What does your heart say that you're called to be and to do and to show up? And maybe it's a simple intention or a word or a phrase. Maybe there's more than that. Let's not make it so difficult that we can't see our success and our progress. When we refocus, what can we say to ourselves? Oh yes, my focus is to show up as love. My focus is, or my commitment is, to spend so much time in spiritual practice or exercise or whatever it is. And right now, as you're writing down, whatever it is you're writing down, I invite you to also write down compassion towards yourself and compassion to those around you. Because most of us, when we're doing something new or refocusing, don't get it perfect. Whatever that means, whatever perfect means. So if we're changing, we have to allow ourselves the room to make a mistake and refocus. If we're replacing a thought pattern that we've held for decades, it probably is not going to go away with one flush. We probably need to notice and refocus. So that's why we write compassion. Because if we have compassion for ourselves, then we can just get on with it and not spend a lot of time being upset at ourselves for goofing up, because goofing up is part of the human experience. Isn't it great? Something for us to learn from. And so let's take a few more nice breaths and allow ourselves to be just settled once more in our heart space. And bring whatever thoughts or intentions or self-compassion into this heart space. So you can just fit it right there on the shelf where whatever you released used to reside. We just take another moment using our power of imagination and faith and zeal to envision what a week from now might look like as we follow this new focus. Just noticing our thoughts, and if it's getting distracted by what could go wrong, we'll just bring it back, refocus. And reusing our imaginal power, we see what it might look like, what it might feel like, maybe what it tastes like, what it sounds like in a month. What would it taste like, feel like, sound like in 6 months? We use our imagining power as our focus, our refocus, letting our heart and our head work together. Noticing any times we feel obstacles or resistance, and using our power of release to resolve, to learn, and to grow. And so we bring our awareness, our intentions back into this space. We breathe in the joy of the clarity and the wisdom of this knowing that our heart and our head are so connected, and that the wisdom when we activate both together is unparalleled. And so I invite you and I remind you, friends, to practice noticing, releasing the things that don't fit, noticing the beliefs and the ideas, using our imagining power, using our zeal, using those things that draw us deep in our hearts to move us forward into who we have really come here to be, how we've come to show up. This is a practice for all times, new beginnings, endings, middles, anytime. Take care, friends. We'll see you again. And hey, you have so much ability and wisdom. You have so much potential. I believe in you, and I believe that you can do great things.